Tell us about the perks of the job.
The perks of the job, man. Getting to see the world.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Getting to see different places that I you know, I'd never really left Liverpool until I started acting. Prepare for that role, you know. I sort of
bought a load of gear.
I wasn't going to swear on this one because normally, like,
have you swore?
I've swore once.
Have you?
I've said shite twice. No.
So, Bobby, welcome to the Full Lit, mate. What's happening?
Not much, man. Nice one for having me.
There's always something.
There's always something happening.
Shit, I'm plodding on. I don't know. I feel all nervous now, to be honest with you.
No.
I feel like I'm put on the spot.
In an interview.
He was saying camera A and camera B and all this before, and he's
Yeah, but it's all right when you pretend to be someone else. But as soon as you yourself, you're like,
So, Mr. Schofield, why do you want to work here?
Yeah, no, just plodding on, man. Just cracking on, doing a bit of work and that. Just filming at the minute.
Do you still call it work, or is it a calling?
What do you mean, in the sense of what?
Well, acting, is it a job?
For this?
Was I born for it? I don't know, you know, it's a bit of a mad question, isn't it? Probably, I think I've always been like destined to do it ever since I was a kid, yeah. Just purely because I don't know, do like impressions of like my teachers and yeah, just I don't really watch that much stuff anymore, but when I was younger, like I just used to watch so much telly and go to theatres that much that I don't know, I just sort of became embroiled in it, and I was always fascinated by, I don't know, people betraying other people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that like sort of, you know, that attracted me to acting, I suppose.
As much as that attracted you to it, having a dad who's an actor,
yeah,
a well-known actor, did that drive you away from it as well, or did that?
Maybe, maybe through my teens it might have, when I was like, I don't know, like sort of towards when I was a kid, because I've been going to theatre probably since I was like 4 or 5, like, you know, my first memories I can sort of remember are from the Everyman, you know, being a little kid and growing up around it. So I think without my dad and being where I'm from, I probably would never have went down that avenue, which is sad to say, but that's probably the truth, you know, because you know, people, not so much nowadays. I'm sort of seeing like a lot more young working class actors that are coming through, but I'm 31 now, and I think with someone like me coming from Kirkby, I don't think it would have been accessible. Or say if I said to me mum and dad I were against the drama and he had nothing to do with the art, and if it wasn't for me dad, I probably wouldn't have ended up taking the avenue that I've taken, if that makes any sense.
What do you think you would have done instead?
Probably just would have been a gardener, man. I was just gardener? I was a gardener, yeah. I was a gardener for like 2 years. No, but from when I was 16 till I was 18. So I think that's probably what I probably would have cracked on with that.
I remember picking you up for the last Ferry audition. I like drove down there, and you were on the garden festival site, spading fucking a load of soil or something. And you come out fucking filthy. And you weren't that enthused about doing an audition. You know, you were like, fuck this. And I was like, look, yeah, you're covered in dirt. Do you want to go in there and pretend to be someone else? And you were supposed to say, go on then, and I'll go in.
Yeah, no, I'll never forget that, because it was like, I remember like a moment when I was, I don't know, when I was like, I must have been about 17. Yeah, I was 17, because I'd done it when I was dead young, and you know, I sort of went to like a little drama group and stuff, and you know, we used to love, just God rest her soul, it was Sylvie, it was a drama group back in Kirkby called Kirkby All Stars. This must have been 2003, 2004, so it was like 21 years ago, and I loved it, you know what I mean. I always like loved sort of, you know, pretending to portray other people or do impressions of like Tony Blair or something as a kid. So you know, I'd always sort of had it in me, and then obviously, like, I sort of, you know, done a little bit when I was a kid, done like a little play, and I think I had, you know, 1 or 2 lines in Grange Hill when I was about 12. Don't even know if I made the cut, but I remember someone noticed me from school, and I'm like, you know, which was funny. But yeah, and then I sort of like, you know, growing up in a place like Kirkby, you can be, I don't know, it's not something that people do, is it? You know what I mean? It's
why though? Why is that stigma, or what makes you? What, it's not the cool thing to do, or what is it?
It's a stigma. It's like you just don't know that it's an option. It's not. They don't tell you that. Like at school, you're not told, or you can be. You know, it's footy, isn't it? You could be footy and you could do well or become somebody.
Yeah.
suppose there was one or two people, like your dad was, you know, he was a shining light to a lot of people from that generation who've seen him and go, well, he's working class, he's from a council estate, he's made it, as it were, you know.
Yeah.
But there wasn't much else. It wasn't like there was that, or from my point of view as a filmmaker, it didn't seem possible to become a filmmaker. It's just like, what,
because you
don't school for it. You didn't even know you could do it at university.
Yeah. And I think when you're from a different background, you know, someone who's from, you know, I don't know, from a middle class, or you know, from someone who's come from money. The options are so much more broader for you to do something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because you haven't got to get a job.
Because you haven't got a job. You know what I mean? You've always got that security of like, you know, mum and dad or someone that can, you know. Do you know what I mean? It's that, innit? It's like they don't, and it's not like to, you know, point the finger at them because you can't help what background you're brought up, you're born into. But I think also a lot of people that come from working class backgrounds as well, I think our work ethic's completely different to some people who aren't, because you know, there's a survival element to it. Do you know what I mean?
I wouldn't say work ethic. It's like
it's the
like hunger.
Hunger. There you go. Hunger. Yeah. It's because you hunger to you want it. You want to succeed. You want to do the best you can. So you just become so enthusiastic or so hyper focused on something that other people can just go, oh, well, you know,
take it, leave it.
Take it or leave it. Do you know what I mean? Like when I sort of wanted to do it, you know, like when I was 17 and
after the gardening.
Yeah. Like I was just sort of like, oh, you know what? I'll start doing, you know, a little go to a little amateur dramatics group, and I looked online and there was a place literally downstairs from me. It used to be called Network Theatre Company. And I was 17 and I started going there and just like, I don't know, just loving it, man. Just getting a feel for it and getting, you know what I mean? And like wanting to do more. And I thought, you know what? I think this might be what I want to do. But I didn't know how hard it was. Do you know what I mean? In a weird way, but I didn't have that mindset of like, oh, this is dead hard, it's dead hard. I was like, what if I keep on telling myself it's hard? It's going to be hard, so I've just got to crack on and get on with it, you know what I mean? And just try and do the best I can with the opportunities I get, you know, without stepping on anyone's toes. But like, I don't know, I think sort of like when you've done what was the Reds and Blues, yeah? And I was like a little essay for the day, and he had like a big stupid hat on and all that. I just loved it, man. It was just so much fun. Do you know what I mean? Like it just felt like, I don't know, just to forget about everything. You know what I mean?
14 years ago.
Was that 14 years ago?
I think so. 2010.
2010.
Yeah, and it was all in Dave Kirkby's garden, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. And I was still convinced I was going to play for Liverpool. Terrible footballer as well.
I remember you come up to me afterwards. We had a little rap party, and you come up to me afterwards in the garden. And you were like, "Do you reckon I should do this?" I went, "Do what?" And you were like, "The acting and that." I went, "Well, if you can do it, why would you do anything else? If that's an option to you, why would you do anything else?" And you were like, "I don't know."
Yeah, but I think that's what it is. It's the like, I don't know, yeah. But I think from then, and then I remember watching what was it now? It was Boardwalk Empire. I remember getting off for work, and it was like it was on the telly. I was watching it. And there was an actor in it, and I just remember thinking, "Wow, you're boss, you." It was Vincent Piazza. Do you remember him? He played Lucky Luciano.
Oh yeah.
Something about him. I don't know what it was, but when I watched his performance, I was like, to do that. Don't know, he said something in it that just because I know Steve was in it and all that, and so I was watching it, but I remember just watching him and just thinking, you're something about you, lad. It doesn't look like you're acting. I mean, I haven't seen it for a long time, but there was just something about him that I'm like, I don't believe you. And I remember just putting the hat on and just having a little go in the RGS had a stupid bowler hat, and I remember just putting it on and just having a little go before I went to work, and then I couldn't get out of my head that I wanted to get back into acting. And then I remember just knocking pins in, and I was 17, and I was like, I want to get back into acting, man, and I've been lucky enough to sort of to have a career out of it. Yeah, been very fortunate, because it's not until like 10 years after doing it or whatever, and you sort of look back at the people that you started off with or came into it you were not doing it anymore, or gone on to do other things, and you think, wow, you don't realise sometimes how lucky you are to get all. Not to say like I've had like outstanding opportunity, but I've made a living from it, and that's more I can ask for. You know what I mean? That's more I can aspire to do, and I've told some stories that I've really been proud to tell. And I don't think
met good people.
I've met amazing people, and some knobheads as well.
Loads of them, like.
But I mean, you know, like I've met some of the, like, you know what I mean. I've told some stories that, all right, maybe not necessarily critically acclaimed or what have you, or but I don't. It's not about that. It's just about portraying stuff that I've wanted to portray.
Yeah.
And I've, you know, I'm quite. I don't know if someone could say now to me tomorrow, and like literally say, listen, you're not doing it anymore. I think I'd be absolutely gutted because it's my bread and butter. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? Over them span of 10 years, I've told some really good stories there that I'm glad I've told.
Yeah.
So I can be like, wow, in a weird way, you know what I mean?
Well, one of the reasons we wanted to do this podcast was to make it about the business. Now, whatever that business is, you know, whether it's filmmaking or sport or entertainment, stand-up comedy, whatever it is, it's about the business behind it and about the numbers and about, you know, the things that probably don't get talked about much on podcasts. You know, at what point is it a job? You know, one of the things we've discussed in the past is like, you know, when you're talking about footballers, they know it's a 15-year career tops.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you can treat it like a job, but it's not a job because you're going to have to do something else at some point. And most actors either start as a waiter or as a gardener, or you don't just get in there and make dough. So what was the thing that opened your eyes to go, well, I can do this forever? You know, what was the job you got where you go, this is, you know, I'm a business now?
You've got legs in it, basically.
I don't though, that's the thing. I'm not at that point where I think that. I'm not, if I'm completely honest. I'm at a certain level where I'm earning a living from it, and I'm grateful for that. But in terms of to get to a point where I'm like, oh, I don't need to do anything else. I don't have that.
No.
I don't have that.
I wasn't just talking in terms of like, oh, you know, you're set for life in terms of dough.
Okay.
Just in terms of, you know, at what point you go, well, now I've got an accountant. Now I've got, you know, a guy who looks after this. I'm a business. It's only a small business. You're only self-employed.
Yeah.
But Bobby Schofield is a business, and you have to, you know, think about the next job. And maybe you really want to do a role, but the money's crap.
Yeah.
So you do a good one, and then
Yeah.
you know.
I can tell you where the penny dropped in the sense of that I could do my job where I know I could do it and bring a nice performance. I know when that was.
I do as well.
When?
Was it Black Sea?
Nah.
No.
Nah, it was years after that, man.
Was it?
Yeah. I was still an insecure kid then. And I still am.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But
Hang
it was
on,
like,
you were snatching scenes off Jude Law.
nah, lad,
You were, mate?
I haven't seen it for years, but like, no, the one job where I was like, you know what? I'm actually all right at this, you know. Well, you know, but that took me like that. I was about 25. I mean, I'm 31 now, and it was an episode of Inside Number 9.
Yeah.
And I played a heroin addict, and I always remember, like, I lost like 3 stone for it, so I went like that. I was dead skinny. I was putting myself in it. I mean, not necessarily going method because I wasn't injecting heroin, but you know, it was.
I hope not.
I was, yeah, you know what I mean.
Sequel.
I was speaking to a lot of people who've been through that, and I thought, well, it was the first time I sort of went, I'm going to take it serious within researching someone or trying to find someone. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I went down that avenue of it, and I think it was the first time I was like proud of a performance. Not to say I haven't been proud before, but I was really proud of that.
Yeah.
And I went, you know what? I'm actually all right at this. It took me like a good, when was that? It wasn't even that long ago. It was like
2015, 2016.
No, it was like 20. I think we shot that in like the February 2019. So from starting from like 2012 to 2019, I wasn't really. I never really. Not to say I didn't believe in myself, because I know I always had the ability to do it. Mm-hmm. But it was just something that made me go, you know what? I know I can portray, you know, a lot of heartache here, or whatever it was. You know, we were going through a lot.
Is that the point where you realise you could portray something that you're not?
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
How would you say that 2012 to 2019 shaped you, like moving forward? Like what was happening? What types of roles is it you were doing during that time?
From up until 2019, but previous to that?
Previous, yeah.
Well, it was just, you know, just anything I could sort of get my hands on, really, and you know, any sort of type of...
big projects, though. You were in some big movies, weren't you?
Yeah, man. I mean, my first sort of big job was the Black Sea with Jude Law, and you know, that was just a massive eye-opener, because I was just completely, utterly like... I didn't know how to read a call sheet. I didn't know what nothing was, you know what I mean? And I'll always remember... Great actor, David Trelfall. Funny enough, he was playing me dad in the next job I'm doing, he taught me how to read a call sheet, and I'll never forget him for that. You know what I mean? I'll never forget that, because I'm like, hang on a minute, what's this number mean? What does that mean? And he's like, yeah, that means that. Yeah, because I'm like, this is all just a bit. You know what I mean?
Kamikaze,
yeah. Because you know, I got kicked out of school when I was like 14, and even before then, I never took any notice to what they were saying. So it was the stuff like that. So yeah, from that and then onwards, you know, just trying to get as much experience as I can under me belt, and try and listen and learn as much as I could. You know what I mean? To get to a point where I'm like, I don't know what he's doing now. I know what the camera. I know what this is. Oh, okay, I know what we're doing. You know, because when you're that young and you don't really know, you know, I didn't, you know, you're getting the waterworks going on a wide and all that, and it's like the camera's not in, you know, stuff, just little minute stuff like that you don't realise, you know what I mean? You're like giving it the Oscars here, and the camera's not even on you, you know what I mean? Yeah. But you're like, that's like, you know, like. But
even when you were doing stuff when you first started out with us, it was like, you know, the crew was 12 people. Yeah. And that was, half the time, that was the cast as well. So, you know, you go from that to Black Sea, where you've got 12 people in fucking costume.
Yeah, and you know, yeah, it was an amazing experience. Yeah, it is. It's just eye-opening.
Did you live till the end in that film?
I did, yeah.
Fuck me.
I know.
It doesn't happen often, does it?
It doesn't.
I'm sick of watching your head get blown off.
I know, mate. I know. I'm probably going to get a phone call after this saying, oh, Joyce is just like, I'll be killing you. But it is what it is, do you know what I mean? Like, it's not happened that many times. You know, good. As long as it's for the story's purpose, that's all I'm bothered about, really. Do you know? As long as it makes sense within the story, then that's, yeah, you kick yourself. Oh,
you don't want to be the next Sean Bean, do you?
Wouldn't mind, lad. He's had a good career, man. Do you know what I mean?
Always getting shot halfway through.
You wouldn't mind.
Nah, but yeah, I mean, it's yeah, no, it's been. I've been very lucky and very fortunate for someone who's massively dyslexic and, you know, hasn't got a GCSE. So you can't even say it, GCSE to me. Do you know what I mean? Stuff like that. You
know, the industry's massively not working class, and if you are from there, I'm not saying you're playing catch up, but there's definitely all the lingo, all the stuff you were saying there, that, you know, not knowing about having an account and knowing that you got to pay tax, all of them things that you might not know from our background. You know, you have to learn that quick, don't you, if you're gonna crack on and make a living?
Yeah, no, definitely, yeah.
Did you learn any of that from your dad?
I did, yeah. I mean, yeah, because I think he got into a bit of trouble with the old taxman back in the day, so...
We'll talk about that.
Yeah. He's all right now, for him. But yeah, no, I mean, I think definitely having my old fella definitely helps, you know what I mean? And, you know, he was always very supportive, and, you know, I'd say, like, you know, I want to do acting and I want to be this, or I want to get... And he was like, you know, just have a go and see how you get on, do you know what I mean? And yeah, it's been nice having a very supportive mum and dad, because I think that helps a lot.
Has he been your biggest help?
My dad?
Yeah, in terms of, like, you know, on camera. Or
you got quite a different technique to your dad, haven't you?
Yeah, fella's more of a test, but he likes his theatre, my fella. Yeah. I mean, yeah, in terms of where I was starting out and you know, learning about, I don't know, certain ways, I'd be like, how do you say this, and you know, but I've sort of always just been on my own, man, and cracked on my own. That's the way I've always been. I've always found it very, not one for saying, I've always found it a bit like, I don't like getting legs up, and I don't like, even though I know it comes from sometimes a nice place with people, I've always got to be like, nah, this is me.
You want to do it for yourself,
I'm doing my own thing, like, do you know what I mean? That's the way I always feel like I can...
You feel like you want to earn it?
Yeah, I feel like it's my own journey, do you know what I mean? It's no one else's journey, and that's, you know, I mean, no one else cares, but I mean, it's just... But you know what I'm saying? Like, when it's lovely that people do try and help you, and it's great that people do try and help people out, but I've always been like, with me, just like, nah, this is me, this is what I'm doing, and I'm cracking on. Do you know what I mean? Not to sound like I'm being like, I'm the best, but it's not. That's not where it's coming from. It's just the way I work. You know, I've always been like, so that even that with me half, I've always been very like, well, no, I'm doing it this way. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
The fuck does he know?
Yeah, but I mean... But yeah, no, especially when I've like done plays with him and stuff, he's always like, he's a big help. So he's great to work with on stage. I haven't really done much stuff on telly with him.
He's the best actor I've ever worked with. By a country.
Yeah, I feel brilliant. He's underrated as well. Yeah. Like, he's so underrated. And I only realised that when I actually done a play with him. It's like, And you know, not to say, but I've worked with some great actors or people who are, you know, mega famous or whatever, but like my half fella's like, nah, my half fella's class, man, he's classy, do you know what I mean? There's a class to it, in my opinion.
It's just the way it looks effortless, and you know it's not. Yeah. He's not unprepared. It just makes it look really easy.
Just makes it look really easy. Do you know what I mean? But yeah.
And your dad was a little bit of a hero to Stephen Graham as well, wasn't he? And he kind of championed him a little bit.
Yeah. When he was younger, yeah. I mean, he's doing amazing, yeah. So, you know, it's one of them. It's great to see people doing well from Liverpool. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's good. It's like. Yeah, because I feel like there's a lot of, especially in this industry as well, there can be a lot of competitiveness. And I think, I've always thought that that's a waste of time and a waste of effort for anyone, because you've always got to work as a team, but if someone gets a job over you, it's like the most like,
because in Liverpool, it's not a real industry, is it? It's not. Everyone's doing that, this is mine, because there's not enough to go around.
No, there's not enough to go around, but even so, like, you know, I think recently, within like the last 10 years, there've been some really good stories coming out of the city that we can say we're proud of. Do you know what I mean? Little Boy Blue, for example. That Zilla, Time, Anthony, Anne, others. I can't think of anything else. But you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like Help and all that. Like there's some really sort of strong performances and you know a lot of good actors and good stories coming out of Liverpool. And I think that's like, I don't know.
Do you prefer to work here, to shoot? If you could, you happy shooting here?
Instead of where?
London.
Anywhere?
Well, I'll be sleeping in my own bed, so obviously, This is the first time I've had a job at home for 5 years, so I'm like, over the moon. Yeah. Because I'm not one for complaining, but, you know, if you're living out of a suitcase, like, year, month in, month out, and even though you're staying in really nice hotels and everything's there for you, it just gets a bit monotonous. You know what I mean? You're a bit like, I could do with my own bed. It's just the little small things. And I think as I'm getting older as well, I'm like 31 now, so when I was like in my early 20s, I'm like, I want to see everywhere, I want to go everywhere. Yeah. But then when you go there and you do that, do you know what I mean? You're just like, I can just sit in the house with a cup of tea, man. And it's just like, go to my own room, you know what I mean? But yeah, I think like over the past 10 years, like there's so many like good stories that are coming out of Liverpool. It's like, maybe within the next 10 years when you look back, I want to look at, you know what I mean? You're saying like there's not enough to go around it. There's been some really good stories that have been portrayed here. And I don't know, I think there's like...
I think the drama that emanates from here is always got an agency to it that a lot of places haven't got, you know, going back to, you know, Jimmy's early stuff and Boys from the Black stuff. And, you know, there's always been that agency from here, and that's attractive to the rest of the country because we have got that frisson, you know, of what Scousers are like, and you know, the propensity to drama and things like that. So, you know, that obviously serves you and your peers well for that. You know, we just had Joyce in earlier, and he was telling us a little bit about the thing you're on now. What is the thing you're on now?
The City is Ours. Yeah, it's basically a loosely sort of based on the story of Macbeth. Has he told you that? No. So it's sort of loosely based on that. Good cast, good, you know, good story. But you just never know how stuff turns out until it's out, you know what I'm saying? That's it. Because you always get like, you never want to jinx something because we've done that before and being like, oh, it's going to be the best thing ever. And you know what I mean? Like, I'm always very like...
And then you see the edit.
And you go,
the fuck am I?
But, you know, I think, it's great. You know what? One thing, like, it's good being at home and working with all my mates and getting to do something, you know, that we wanted to do for a while, because we've talked about doing like a good Liverpool crime drama because it hasn't really been touched upon per se, like as in the underworld, because I always find there's a very interesting sort of like a society of life that people don't really understand or people don't really know, but still is very much in our faces as people here, because you see it every day, you know what I mean? You see it every day, you can spot them a mile off, but still you don't really understand. You know, you don't really understand how, you know, do you know what I mean, how it works, or like, you know...
the world you're talking about, how do you achieve authenticity in that when, you know, obviously, I don't know what your part is in it like that, but, you know, if that world you've met and seen and been around all that, so you know what is real and what's not. Do the filmmakers, do the writers, do the producers understand that? Because, in a way, you'd be more of an authority than them on that thing.
How have you balanced that?
Well, it's hard, isn't it, really? Because, you know, to balance. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you know, you have people who essentially are your boss, and or you know, the broadcaster or whoever. So they have, you know, the final say because it's, you know, they're in charge. So you just try as an actor, in my opinion, like you just try and bring as authenticity. You know, the main reason, or for me, within any job that you want to bring like a sense of authenticity to, is that's my main, you know, my main part, my main job to do that more than anything. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like as an actor, I'm just like, listen, I want to try and portray something real here. You know, get their side across. Your character's always your first priority, isn't it? Yeah, the stories. Yeah, my thought process as the character. Yeah. Is always my first priority. What is what does he want to do to get out of this? Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I get you. Like I don't, whatever, you know, is complete. I don't. It's not without sort of stepping on someone else's performance or getting in their way, because you've got to be professional about it in a certain way. But at the end of the day, you're like, I know how these people act and how they are. So how did you get ready for this part? What did you base it on? Yeah. Just people who grew up with, basically. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Just that's the only way I could sort of approach it. Without ruining anything, what's your character in this? What does he do? Peter Murphy, bonehead. That's his nickname. I've known a few boneheads. Well, yeah, actually, no. I'll give you 3 guesses what he does. Go on. Is he in retail? To a degree. Yeah. Is the retail graft? There you go. You know what I mean? Does he die? Not to know of. But yeah, no, so that's to prepare for that role, you know, I sort of bought a load of gear. I think I'll be the worst drug dealer ever as well. I'd be like, I don't want any money, just have it. Get it out of here. I'll be asked with the assholes, you know what I mean? Yeah, no, just sort of like a lot of, I watch a lot of documentaries, do a lot of reading as well. Do you know what I mean? I'll read a lot. I like reading. Prefer reading than watching. What are you into? In terms of reading? Yeah. Read anything, man. Really? Absolutely anything. Mainly historic. Yeah, you always talking about the... Yeah, man, I'm bang into history. World War 1 and 2, you were into as well. Yeah, World War 2 and but break up of Yugoslavia, I'm quite into that. Because you were in the SAS thing, weren't you? Yeah, Rogue Heroes, yeah. How was that? Amazing, man. That was like... You really wanted that part, didn't you? Oh yeah, but on paper you're like, you know, even though it might not be my agent didn't want to take me because it's quite small, but I'm like, I'm not bothered, man, just because it's about the Second World War and I'm playing someone that it's a Scouser in the original SAS, that's all I'm bothered about. Yeah. So when I was talking about, like, if I could, like, someone say, listen, you're not acting anymore tomorrow, I'd be like, listen, you know what, I really wanted to tell that story more than, like, a lot of things, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's like, historic based drama is something that I'm really... That's your thing. Yeah, man, I don't sort of do it, I mean, I do a bit of it, but not enough to be like, because I was gonna, I'm a bit of a nerd, man. When I was like 14, I was a bit older than that, about 16, I was gonna join like a reenactment group. You know all like, them guys who like go to like fields and with their muskets. I was gonna do all that. You know, I was like, just go and spinny woods and start blowing each other up. Big fucking spear on St. Kev's. That's how much I was into it. I was like, and then obviously I found an avenue that, you know, acting. Do you know what I mean? And I've worked with some of them fellas on things. I'm like, I'm glad I'm not doing that. Do you know, nutters, lovely fellas, but absolute nutters. Do you know what I mean? Just on another planet. So if you were given an ideal part, what would that be? They came to you and said, Bob, what would you like to do? The lead. Historical or just any part? Anything. Oh, you know, because it changes, man. Changes. Really? Yeah, it does, yeah. It does change. Over, like, I'd love to, there's probably like, I'd love to do something about the American Civil War. I think I'd like to play like a sort of, you know, southern drawl gentleman, but in that, I'd like to do something like that, or maybe play a politician, but, you know, politician? Yeah, US politician. You are? US politician. Not necessarily a US one, but I would really like to play. This is so bizarre and so niche, because I just find the character fascinating. Nah, Slobodan Milosevic. It's something about, because I've studied like and I don't know what it is, like the psyche of like Yugoslavia. Yeah, the psyche of politicians, because some of them are so brutal and evil. You're like, where does your conscience lie, man? Do you know what I mean? Like, that fascinates me as a human being. Well, where people's conscience,
you're pretty good at accents and that. What's your fucking Slav like?
I'd have to listen to him for a bit, but no, I mean, like, I'd love to sort of go down that, or like, but every other character that I've ever portrayed, I'm actually quite, I've sort of portrayed who I've wanted to portray in a way, if that makes any sense, just to find out how they are as people. The certain ones I'm doing that I've got to be very, 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 like, what's the word I'm looking for? Just desensitized, is that the word? Desensitized to it, because it's very, very dark.
Like the heroin addict.
Don't want to take it home.
Don't want to take it home. Yeah, heroin addict, or, schizophrenic, that was quite a tough one. And there's one I've got to do, which isn't for
Would you say that was the hardest part you've had to play?
Schizophrenic?
Yeah.
Which one of you? Sorry, Bob.
Schizophrenic, hardest part. Nah, you know what the hardest one has been to play is just the one in the SIS, purely because of the physical aspect of it.
Oh, really?
Genuinely. Mentally, nah, nothing. But
body, yeah.
But hardest, yeah. Like mentally, I couldn't even tell you mentally. Maybe
the next one.
The next one will probably be the hardest one for me, yeah. If I'm not lying. But before that, nah. Yeah, the heroin addict was a tough role. And I remember I played a lad with who was alcoholic, who had a stammer, which was quite tough. But I still enjoyed it, you know what I mean? There was still an element of an... Did
you take the stammer home?
Yeah. Still got it now. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's about it, man.
What about the process now? For how often are you reading for the part, and what is it like to go for the part? Is it all self-tapes now, or are you doing auditions?
I do a lot of self-tapes and a lot of Zooms, because I've never really, I haven't really been comfortable with going into rooms since COVID, in a weird way. Like, it's affected me mental health.
Really?
Yeah, man.
Why?
Don't know, lads. I don't know. It's just because I've got OCD, so it's just like, got to wash my hands and all that, and that became a factor with like COVID, and then, my head just goes all mad places, and I've just never found it very... I'm alright in a work aspect, but even that can be tough on a day-to-day basis, you know what I mean? And I'll just be quite like over the top and like a bit mad, you know what I mean? But it's just because I'm a bit nervous, you know? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's not like I'm just as insecure as everyone else. So I don't know why. I don't know why that's affected me. But it just has since then. It's just bizarre, isn't it? I can't put me finger on it.
Alright if you give good tape.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, no, I like the tape. I like doing the tapes and the Zooms. So I'll do like a tape, and if the director wants to see me more, then I'll put the Zoom there, and I'll do the scene with you, and if they want to go ahead, sound, and if they don't, then that's sound as well.
Is there anything you really, really wanted to get that you were just like, I could have killed to get that part?
No, because there's always a reason why you never got it.
Really?
Yeah.
So there's nothing that you've went and auditioned for and you just thought, I could have chewed someone's arm off to get that.
I actually genuinely can't think.
Okay, flip side, anything that you felt I was lucky to get that, to be fair?
Probably the SAS one.
Really?
Just purely because I'm that enthusiastic about the subject matter.
Yeah.
But in terms of one that I've never got, I'm trying to give you an example of one, but it always the thing that I've always thought like that has always been a bit of a blessing. Like, it's always been a bit like that was a blessing, you never got that. But I'm still trying to think of a part that I was like, proper wanting. Maybe Dunkirk. Did you ever see that film?
Yeah, Dunkirk.
I think I read for that. I really wanted a part in that because
it's Dunkirk.
Because it's Dunkirk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Proper wanted a part in that. Anything to do historic wise, like,
you're in.
I'm in.
Yeah.
That's something that I'm like.
Any history.
Like
Roman history, Greek.
Roman,
yeah.
anything to do with history. That's my thing, man. That's my ballpark. Or social realism comedy that you get that tells that makes people question what is going on within society.
What, like a Black Mirror episode?
No, because they're always a bit outlandish. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They're always a bit mad.
Yeah.
So not necessarily one of them. Jimmy McGovern,
Okay.
a perfect prime example of someone who makes people think about what society's aspect, or, you know, say Ken Loach in a way to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Jimmy is he doesn't just parachute in and think he knows everything about a subject matter. He kind of, he writes about things that he does know about because he researches, he embeds himself, he meets the people, he doesn't just parachute in and go, I'm taking this story. He's part of the community, you know, and the things he does, so he's not really ever on shaky ground. It's a Jimmy McGovern thing is a Jimmy McGovern thing every time, isn't it? You've been in a few of his, haven't you?
Yeah, I've done two of Jimmy's thing, yeah. And I think I'm about to go on to a Jimmy thing as well, so I'm
Is that what we call it now, a Jimmy thing?
Jimmy thing.
Can I get on that Jimmy thing, lad?
Yeah, I go on the Jimmy thing. So I've done Sam and Anthony, didn't I? Anthony.
Yeah.
They were like the two things I've done with him, and then going on to a thing called Joe next. So yeah, very blessed to...
What's that about?
I don't know if I can say, lad. Nah.
Sounds. Have you ever thought about doing comedy?
I'd love to do a comedy.
Sitcom?
Love to.
Really?
Never had the opportunity. They're always dark, sadistic.
Yeah.
I think one of the funniest...
Wonder why.
Do you know what I mean? It's probably because I can't go into rooms. It's probably got to cast them, he's a weirdo. You know what I mean? But
I've got a part for you, it's a boy in a bubble.
But boy doesn't leave his room.
Truman Show remake.
Oh mate, that's I think they have you ever had that thought where you're like, oh, I bet you're like, do you know what I mean? It might come from like a nutty narcissistic point of view, but like where you think that your life is the Truman Show, and your ma's like, you know, your ma's name's real called, I don't know, Amy Johnson. She's being cast for, you know, 8,000 episodes on IMDb. You know what I mean?
I'm the lead in this one.
yeah, I'll be the lead. Like,
I'm the main character.
But like you don't realise it. Yeah. But but yeah, what was I saying then? Yeah, just I'd love to do something, you know, comedic or funny.
Because obviously, again, your dad's always done a lot of comedy, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Good at it.
Yeah, man, like I'd love to, but it's just not the way. I think the funniest part I've ever played without it was probably the one I'm doing now, Boneheads, but it's not even like...
You're not meant to be funny.
I'm not trying to be funny, you know. I think I'm just doing it, you know what I mean? Like, just, I'm not meaning to be funny, but it's just obviously coming across that way. Like,
do you ever pick up like techniques from other actors that you work with, where you've been with someone on a project for a while and you've gone, I've seen, even if it's like not on screen, I've seen him do that, or I've seen him prep this way. Do you ever just take stuff from other people?
I'm sure I have, but subconsciously not really realised it, you know what I mean? Like, it's not to say that I just do everything my way. I'm sure I've watched someone and went, oh, that was interesting, or that was good. But like, I always, even when I'm working with actors as well, like, and I'm probably guilty of it myself, you know, sometimes like I sort of know when someone's like, oh, that's really good and really naturalistic, and I believe everything you're doing, and then sometimes you're like, you're just sort of saying them words there, aren't you? Do you know what I mean? You're just sort of trying to get through that without looking shite. Which is fair enough.
Everyone has an off day.
You've got to do it, and I've been guilty of it myself. You get it? Like, everyone gets it. But like, sometimes you can, there's only like, I can like count off the top of my head, like actors that I've worked with, and I've been like, nah, that I like you. Like, because I'm a nerd on it, do you know what I mean? And it's not to say I'm a nerd in the sense of like, I'll watch everything, or I'm just a nerd at doing it, and I'm finding, but I can count on one hand how many actors I've worked with, and I've been like, nah, you're good, you. Like, I like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, so, it's like quite rare, like, I get that feeling. There's only a few. Who
would you say left you in like awe of, like, wow, that was
incredible?
Yeah.
Really like Connor Swindles. I really rate Connor. I think Connor's brilliant. These one young actor I've worked with and I've went,
what was that on?
You're good, you. SAS.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. Ben Mendelsohn.
I was going to say, I remember you talking about him, yeah.
Another one actor that I've watched and I've went, wow, lad, you're like, that's
amazing.
That's boss, that.
Yeah.
I've been blown away by that. Steve Walters, another amazing actor I've been blown away by playing my dad. I felt so sorry for him. Do you know what I mean? Watching him, and I've been like, "What? I'm there with you, lad." That's like, I'm actually there. Me dad, another one. Yeah. You know what I mean? But that's, I really come to think about it. There's not that, and that's not to no disrespect to anyone else I've worked with.
Yeah, no, it's just
massively disrespectful.
But you know what I mean? It's like, that's no, you know, there's probably more that if I sat down and really thought about it. But like, they're the ones that really pop to my mind. that I'm like, wow, I love working with you. Like there's something that touched me within.
Yeah, that reached.
That touched me there, like, and I'm like, ooh, that's powerful. But it's
I'm wondering whether the people you're mentioning there, is there a separation between people who are like trained at the job and people who've, because you didn't go to any kind of.
No, I never went to. I can't even Ben Mendelsohn. He never went to drama school. I know Connor Swindles never went.
That's what I was getting at.
My dad never went.
Have you seen that as like a positive or just?
If you were advising someone who's saying, Bobby, I want to be an actor, what do I do?
It's whatever. Like, I mean, me personally, no, because I wouldn't have lasted 10 minutes in there.
Why?
I just wouldn't have, lad.
Really?
Nah, I wouldn't. I just know I wouldn't have. I can't deal with it. Like sometimes I've just got to be like, no, let's just do it. Do you know what I mean? I've got to. I can't sit down and talk about it for too much. Do you know what I'm saying? Okay. It's got to be like, let's just crack on and get it done. Yeah. Instead of waffling on about something. You know what I'm saying? But then sometimes that's the only avenue people have got to go and get into it. Yeah. Like I was fortunate enough that my drama school was going to Everyman every night with my dad or the Royal Court and going to the youth theatre and watching films when I was a kid. That was my training per se, because I grew up around it and I've seen so many good performances on stage, on screen. But like maybe not so much nowadays, because I don't really find myself watching that much stuff now. But I don't know why that is. It's just
it's because you're making it. And
I suppose
the veils fell down, isn't it?
I suppose in a way, yeah. But it's like, you know, there's only like, yeah. Do you know what I mean? It's...
I think what I've seen in you is like you were always like naturally curious about something. There was always something like, what is that? I want to be into that. I mean, I remember you ringing me and going, have you got any of them Cuban cigars? I was like, yeah, I've got some. So, like, can I come down and get one? Like, well, you can, like, what the fucking 80 quid each? Yeah, go on, I only want one. He comes bouncing down to ours for 20 minutes later, and then next minute he's texting me, it was lovely that. It's fucking supposed to last an hour, like, an hour and a half. It was lovely that. 5 minutes later, he's just blitzed it like a bifter. He just wanted to know about stuff, and you're always asking about something, or there was always like, well, where's that go? What's that do? So I think if you've got that curiosity, it's half the battle for wanting to be a storyteller, whether it's acting, filmmaking.
But sometimes that can get on people's nerves.
Yeah, fucking mine.
Like, no, but like even when I'm working, like that,
when
you
you're
know,
working?
yeah, man, that can really some people's heads spin out. But really? Because say if a story doesn't make sense, I'm like, hang on a minute. So we're doing that because of that, but why isn't he doing that, and why doesn't that make sense through that? And some people just go, but like unless it doesn't connect in my head, I'm like, but that doesn't make any sense to me. That just seems a bit.
Everything I watch, I'm going, why would he do that? When you've just established in the last 3 episodes what he's like X, Y, Z, and now you know he's doing ABC. Fuck off.
Do you know what I mean? That's so as soon as you get that in your head, you're like, well, why am I wasting my time? This is, you know what I mean? Like, it can get a bit much in your head. It's I don't know if it's it's just some mental illness or something.
Go on. So you don't watch that much now?
Nah. No. If very rarely I'll watch it unless I've got a mate in it, or like I've been in it, just purely to see how it looks. But if it purely to see how it is, that's just purely from like, I'd love to see how it looks.
An artistic standpoint.
Yeah, man, that's it. But unless I'm mate or unless I'm really invested in the story, I'm not really gonna watch anything. Like, and that's terrible to say that, but it's just not where I
think it's common in the industry. It's like the people who make it often are just switched off to it.
You shouldn't have the time anyway. You should be working.
Oh no, I get enough time off, lad, in this game. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's just I think the way I've always been attracted to it is just purely by like curiosity. Do you know what I mean? Like I've always been curious on just wanting to I get my kick out of doing it. I get my kick out of doing it. That's my kick. Watching stuff, or you know who's doing what, and you know in which theatres just doesn't interest me in the slightest. Yeah. Like I'm not bothered. I'm just not. I'd sooner watch the footy or watch a documentary or read. In terms of my what's the word I'm looking for? Create it, like, you know, for your imagination. Do you know what I'm saying? So when I'm creating someone or I'm being someone, that's my. It's
your release.
Yeah, that's my release, man. Yeah. I can forget being myself for a bit.
Has that kind of obsession, like during productions, has it ever caused any issues with like any of the other actors on it or any writers? Or
yeah, 100%. Yeah, a few times, yeah. But that's it. You know, That's not coming from an egotistical point of view. That's purely just because I want something to be good. You know what I'm saying? That's not, I know what you mean, but like, yeah, being that obsessive with something, or it's hard work, lad. It is. It can be hard work, because if I'm playing someone, I'm going in. You know what I mean? I can't
do it half.
I can't do a half. No, I've got to be. I mean, maybe the next one, yeah. But like, cut that. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. Like, I've got to really. You've got
to throw yourself in it and truly understand it so that you can be the best version.
The best version of a can to do my job to the best of my ability. And I think people respect that.
Is the bit where you're not on set, the waiting rounds, can that be tiresome, or is it a laugh?
What, when you're in work or when you're not?
When you're in work waiting.
Sometimes I've had some of the best times in my life messing around.
Really?
Yeah. Some of the, like, with your mates, and especially on this one, I've had a ball on this. Yeah. We've had a ball. Me and Jack McMullen just having a laugh, because it is a laugh. At the end of the day, it's a laugh. Yeah, just take the piss. And
we worked together on that short, and it was you and Jake. And you'd always have a laugh with Jake. You know what I mean? He was just hilarious, and you two were just doing little skits and scenes off. You know, when we were hanging around.
Yeah,
it was funny that.
That's what I mean. That's what it's about, isn't it? You know what I'm saying?
It's beats garden then.
Yeah, yeah, man. I haven't touched the spade since 2012 or something. That's when I started. 2011, lad. That was the last time I've done any. That's the last time I had a normal job. 2011.
So tell us about the perks of the job then. What do people not know?
The perks of the job.
Yeah.
I'm probably not used to them now. That they don't seem like perks anymore.
Flying business class and that.
Flying business class is always good. Getting picked up, getting taken to work is always nice. Getting your food on set, just, you know what I mean? Stupid stuff like that, yeah. Sometimes getting the odd free ticket to Oasis.
What about the Addy Lee bills you used to get?
God, yeah, remember that? Yeah. Used to, I remember it was one of my first jobs that weren't years ago in London, and these were in London, and I was just like, just absolutely rinsing the Addy Lee bill, because I thought you could do that. I'd be like going out, we'd end up like...
You'd be getting calls off like the producers.
Producer kicking off, yeah. Saying, I was like, well, you can't really do that. You're getting... I was like, I thought you said I could use that anywhere you want. So I was only 19, so I'm like, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, just...
3 in the morning outside the boozer, come get us.
Yeah, come pick us up and getting them to,
You take me to Liverpool, bring me back.
Yeah, I used to do all mad stuff, yeah. Mad. I mean, that's probably why I don't drink anymore, but like... But yeah, the perks of the job, man. Getting to see the world. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Getting to see different places that I'd never really left Liverpool until I started acting.
Really?
Nah, man. Never left Kirkby. I've been to so many places, and I think one of my dreams was always to like travel with work and to see different cultures and to see just to get a broader aspect of life. You know what I mean? Just to see what it's all about.
So you get free watches and free cars and that, no?
I'm not famous. I'm not a celebrity. That only happens to celebs, that man. I'm just a jobber. I can't get a watch deal. Come on.
Casio.
No. Nah, I'd sooner just not have one. I'm alright with my phone, to be honest. Yeah. But no, I mean, it's, each their own, lad. But like, the whole business aspect to it and the side of it, of like, I don't know, being on GQ, I don't know, all that. That's not really my concern. It's not my ball, man. Nah. I'm more interested in the story aspect and dissecting stories and making. That's what really ticks me, man, and makes me. I mean, don't get me wrong. If someone came here, look, there's a big contract, and you want to do it, I'd be like, well, yeah. But I'm never gonna go looking for it. Yeah. Never in a million years. Like. So,
I'm sure you've got a story about being recognised, and it's gone a bit pear-shaped, surely.
Pear-shaped in what sense?
In a sense of like...
Recognised as for an actor or...
Yeah, like you've been out somewhere, someone's been like, aren't you...
Oh no, one of the funniest ones I've ever had was on this platform, about 2 years ago. And I'm like, I think it was Crew or somewhere up, one of them weird little stations, Carlisle, I think it was. And I remember I was on Carlisle station, absolutely shocking. I think
the better question is, why were you in Carlisle?
I was going to Edinburgh because that's where my missus is from and her family. So I'm like on the way up there, and I remember being on the platform, and I was on the telly at the time playing someone called Bobby, and my name's Bobby, innit? So I'm standing there, and this one's going, Bobby! And I'm like, what? And she goes, no, Bobby. I went, what are you shouting me for? Do you know what I mean? So I goes up to say, what's the score? She went, oh no, I've been watching you on the telly. And I think I was hungover. I was like, oh, fuck off. I walked away. And I felt terrible. I'm like, you know when you're just like not in the mood. And I remember thinking, so I went on the train, I had to find her and say sorry. I went, no, listen, love, I'm sorry about it. I just didn't know. Because she just kept on shouting me in front of all these people. And I'm like, but she was referring to the character I was playing. Yeah, you know what I mean? I'm like, what should she shout me for?
Surely there's got to be a rule, if you cast someone and that's their real name, you change the name of the character.
This is mad. But yeah, well, that's the only... I mean, not really. I mean, I get the odd notice every now and again.
You've not had to be like, oh no, that's my brother.
Oh no, I told you that didn't say, yeah. No, yeah, that was only about 3 weeks ago. We were in, where was I? I was in Lake District with Bethan and my mate. And you know, you get the odd piss head and that. It's just like, you know, we just sort of, you know, lads, rugby lads, so they're all like that, you know, and hey, you're alright, you know, Jimmo. Always over the top, aren't they? So I'm sitting there like that, got my bins on, can't remember, I think I was having a coffee, anyway, this fella, just looking at me. I'm like, anyway, the fella comes out of the toilet and he goes, hey, listen, my mate here, says that you're fucking famous. And I was like, well, I'm not. He was like, no, who are you? Come on now, you can tell me who are you. I went, I'm not. I went, no, don't lie. And I went, it's my brother, lad. My brother's Bobby. He's on the telly sometimes. That's it. It's not him, it's his brother. And I said, you get left alone, and you know what I mean? There was another one the other day. I got pulled over by the plod. Get on this. And
where?
Were you still in costume from the city as well?
Shut up. But I think I was on the way to the gym.
Sponsored by OnCloud.
But this is the second time I've been pulled. I got pulled the week before by the same copper.
In Liverpool?
In Kirkby.
No way.
Yeah, so anyway, I comes out of my ma's front door and this busy goes, excuse me, do we know you? I said, yeah, you do. She went, oh yeah, I stopped you the other day, didn't I? I went, yeah, you did. Why? Do you want to do it again? And she was like, so now she's got the so she's pulled over. She's like, you know, she starts searching me and I'm like, I don't know why you're doing this, because you're wasting your time, do you know what I mean? I've got nothing to hide. I said, just because I'm driving a nice car in a working class area, you automatically think I'm a drug dealer. Yeah. No, it's not that. Well, it is though, innit? Yeah. Like, why else would you stop me? Do you know what I mean? And anyway, the busy's there and he goes, I recognize your face from somewhere. And I'm like, oh.
Here we go.
I know, but he didn't clock on. Do you know what I mean? He was like, no. I said, have I nicked you? I said, no, you've never nicked me, mate. No. But he was like, no, I recognise your face. And he was all right, do you know what I mean? But you know, when you're like, just let me get on with my day. But yeah, nah, I don't get hassles or nothing, me, lad. I'm quite low key.
Never thought to use the card and be like, oh yeah,
I'm what on that? No, it's cringy.
Yeah.
I'd find that too cringy, lad.
If it gets you out of a search.
I mean, but if you've got nothing to hide, let them crack on with the... I know what you mean. So
what about the kilos in the back? What about them?
Oh, well, you know, I just say, listen, I'm in character.
I'm method.
Listen, I'm getting into character. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Imagine. Yeah. What, all the fake blocks of Charlie in my boots.
Explain that one.
Yeah.
So the way you spoke sounds like you maybe half preparing for further down the line in your career being involved other than just acting. Would you ever consider being involved on the writing, producing, directing side?
I'd love to. You know what? I'd love to have a go at directing. I'd really like to have. I think working, like just being on set, and I've picked up a lot. I feel like subconsciously I didn't even know. You know what I mean? Like, oh, that's a two-shot. He's coming for a scene.
I was going to say one of the biggest things for any director is blocking, isn't it? Yeah. And actors understanding blocking is like, you know, where everyone stands for this scene and where they move to. That once you get that kind of spatial. And a lot of actors think in space, don't they? You think in distances and things like that. Once you've learned that, that's one of the hardest things as a director to do, to understand that. It's like, hang on, you know, how far is he from the door? Does he go over to the window? You know, where is she? You know, it's literally meters and feet and inches, and you understand that from years on set, so that will translate if you want to have a go.
No, I think mate, it's not one of my main priorities as of yet, but I'd love to. I'd definitely love to dip my finger in it and see if I could. You know, see if I could do it, 100%, man. Because I've written a couple of shorts with a couple of mates of mine, and you know, I'd love to sort of go down that avenue of making that, just purely because, you know, it's just a good story. You know what I mean? And I feel like I don't know, I'd like to have a go at doing that, but I think it's sort of, I've still got to couple of decent performances in me before. Do you know what I mean? Like,
you don't have to do one and not the other.
Yeah, I know, but if I'm in, man, I'm in. Do you know, it's one of them, like, I don't know if I can do, I don't know if I can start going, I'd just be like, I'm doing that or I'm doing that. Both. But I don't think my main sort of, I'd love to have a go at some point.
So where would you say your main like ambition and priority is right at this moment? What do you want to do? Start Hollywood blockbusters, long series? Where's your head at with it?
With acting, just longevity, man. Yeah, just to crack on and to earn a living, so I can, buy a nice house and afford to feed me kids off it. That's literally where I am in my life, I think now. Don't get me wrong, if a Hollywood big blockbuster and all that sounds, I'd love to do that. It's not really something I'm going, I'm not,
not necessarily striving for it, but you'd take it if it...
I'd take it if it come, and if it's, if I got a tape through or something was there and the opportunity arose, 100%, but I'm certainly not putting all my time and effort in my life within trying to get to that. But in terms of like, I just want to make good work. All that stuff is what it is. But if it's not good work,
not necessarily good art.
Good art, do you know what I mean? If I'm completely honest with you, that'd annoy me more if I was in something that was paying me loads of dough.
But it was crap.
But it was awful.
Yeah.
Instead of being in something that's, I'm not getting paid the money, but it's a good story and I'm proud of it. That's something I can take it away from. But if you ask me in 2 or 3 years' time when I've got a couple of kids, I'll be like, nah, just give me the job. Do you know what I'm saying? No, but like,
when Ryan Reynolds is on the phone,
like that's the reality of in my head. Like I don't. Yeah, it's just if something grips me story wise, and I'm like, wow, like I'd love to be a part of this, or I'd love to portray that person or that character and tell that story. That's something that's like the fame and all that stuff. Just I don't know. It's just that's probably why I've never got fame, because I'm not like that way. I'm not. That's not what I'm in for. Like.
So what kind of parts are you actually taping for now? Like what have you been getting put forward for?
I haven't, literally, it's been quite quiet, man.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm working touch wood, which I'm very blessed for. But in terms of getting put up for stuff, no, I haven't really been up for anything like for a long time. I think the last tape I done was what was it? I can't even remember.
Really?
Genuinely can't even remember. It was that long ago. No, I think it might have even been this, but we're on. So, I got sent something. I got sent something the other week, but I swerved it because I'm busy. But sometimes you get a feel for something, sometimes you don't. With me anyway, I always seem to type of like, I do stick to scripts, of course I do, but I don't sometimes, you know what I mean? Like I can always be very like, well, I could say, yeah, man, because I always feel like if you can get, sometimes what's written on the page is not necessary, and it's not necessarily to say that the story's bad.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes to say that the dialogue's not strong and you can make it a lot better, but with the same intention and what he's trying to come across. I think that's just acting in general.
Would you say that's because you've not come from a structured background in terms of like, drama school with you? It's just very much you've improv'd your way to where you are now.
You know what, man? Maybe, yeah. Maybe. Like there was a time and a place years ago where I would never do that.
Really?
Like, nah, man. Like I remember doing a job years ago where it was to the letter. Do you know what I'm saying? And you're trying your best to like
stay within that.
But it's the text was never that strong enough.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I mean, it needs to be a lot of good scripts, and it just needs a lot of shit out there as well.
Yeah. No, it is. Yeah, and sometimes when it's like this is what it needs to be, you're like, oh, this is not good. This is not good though. But like you've signed on the dotted line. You're not an exec or whatever type of power that these people have to challenge that. Mm-hmm. And it might affect me in the future because I do tend to challenge a lot of things that I shouldn't really be challenging. I can foresee
a path for you in a sitcom where you get pulled over by a sexy busy.
But yeah, it's that type of thing, man. Like, yeah, it is. Like you can get sort of you can overstep the mark sometimes, but that as long as you're coming from a place of care and passion.
Yeah.
And wanting the best, that's all. I think that's all I can, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And sometimes your ideas are crap. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes they're like, they don't make any sense, and you're like, oh, hang on a minute, that doesn't make any sense, that. Do you know what I mean? Even though you'd be sitting on the pod going, boss idea, that. You know what I'm saying? You're like, yeah, that'll work, that. Yeah, if you say it like that, I'll do it like that. And then you get on set in the day and you go, yeah, listen, come up with some corkers here. You come out and then you just come now and you're like, yeah, it's a bit shit, that, isn't it? You know what I mean? Like, you've always got to be an open book as well.
Yeah, of course.
But I think it should work as it should work both ways instead of it just being like, you know what I mean?
What were the films? You say you don't watch much now, but what were the films before you were acting that inspired you, that you were like that you were obsessed with or watched loads of times? Yeah. For me, like, it was all the stuff from the 70s, whether it's The Godfather or The Conversation or Taxi Driver. I was obsessed like with all that stuff. Did you have like a thing that you were just always rewatching and watching?
Bands of Brothers, man. Yeah, that was that. I think Bands of Brothers, Snatch, yeah. Yeah, another Stay was in both, wasn't it? Yeah. What else?
You said that you did a lot of like imitating when you were young. Like what? Yeah. What did you go around like accents or just? What was it?
Just taking the mick out of teachers and that. You know what I mean? Just like. Yeah, just doing impressions. Yeah, just all that. I'm not doing the money. I'm not getting paid enough. Literally, used to quote a lot of Bands of Brothers and stuff, and let's get this goddamn platoon on the move, all that stuff. Like, yeah, man, just. But I anything historic, I was really attracted to. Do you know what I mean? Like, I loved. I'm trying to Godfather as well. Another like massive thing that made me really want to, be Saturday night, Sunday morning. You see, I'm into like old classics, man, like Albert Finney and that from the 60s, like performances like that. Seeing like real kitchen sink drama for like, the first time, and the hardships and heartache on working class people, not to be like, you know what I mean? As you get older, you sort of appreciate all that stuff.
What it took to make.
Yeah, you know what I mean? And you go, wow, like, that was speaking to me, do you know what I mean? Even back then when I was like such a little boy. Guy Ritchie stuff, Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels, you know what I mean? And Snatch, they were like two of the most prominent films of my like youth, you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Like, I watched them films over and over and over and over again, and I was so privileged to work with the fella. I got to work with him as an actor when I'm older, which was like, wow, no way. But I mean,
What in?
Josie was in it as well. I forgot the name of it.
The Guy Ritchie film?
The Covenant. There you go. The Covenant. Yeah.
It's hard to remember when it was that long ago.
I mean,
was it about a year ago?
What, we filmed that? It must have been about 2 or 3 years ago, that. I can't remember, anyway. But clearly it shows. But yeah, no, I mean, like,
Well, you mentioned Steve there. Have you worked with Steve?
Steve who? Steve Graham?
Yeah.
Yeah, like full time, man. Yeah, I've worked with Steve, yeah. It's great, man, yeah. It's good to work with someone who's from the same area as you. Do you know what I mean?
Can you do an impression of him?
Listen, lad, I'm not going to do that. That's not for me, lad. Nah. Cut that.
That's going in.
Don't. Nah, that wasn't the best. That wasn't my best.
No, you need warming up into that.
I need warming up into that. Listen, lad, that's brilliant. I love that. Yeah, let's have another little go. I'm ready to go. Let's do it. But yeah, no, we could stay loads, yeah. Great person. There's a lot for young actors up and coming, and a lot of people do that. Do you know what I mean? So it's good to see someone who's obviously,
stretching the arm out for you.
Yeah, man, because that doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying?
I think from Steve's point of view, I think there was probably a point where he was, on the precipice of making it and not making it, and he understands what it's like, what it takes to have a job and do, he didn't just make it and go straight off as a young. He was on a long journey to it himself. So I think if you're holding down a job and trying to get to the point where you just pay the rent,
I mean,
that's where you need the little touch.
Yeah, no, defo. But I've been fortunate in the sense that I've never had to get a normal job. I've just been acting since your
gardening days.
Since my gardening days, man. I've just like, this is what I wanted to be, so this is what I'm going to be. And I've always been fortunate enough to earn money that I didn't need to get a normal job. Do you know what I'm saying?
Fair enough, yeah.
Which is, I'm blessed. You know what I mean? Because I can say, I'm doing what I wanted to do. But whatever the next level may be, whatever, I don't know, being famous or, playing a lot more leads, that's great and that. But I think my main priority is just to tell good stories, man. Yeah. And that's literally it. I'd sooner be telling good stories and not be the lead than, do you know what I'm saying? Than be a part of that, you know what I mean? I've sort of, I'm doing something now which I'm going to be going into, which I am playing my first lead, which I'm very grateful for.
Yeah.
You know, which is amazing. And I think it's got to a certain point where I've done, like, that many years. Like, if I would have got the opportunity 5 or 6 years ago, I'd probably be like, whoa, nah, not for me, that. Just give me the other part in the background.
Really?
Yeah, man,
Why?
yeah.
Why?
It's just purely, you know, insecurity and not believing in yourself. Do you know what I mean? And I think I think that takes, well, for me, it's everyone's different, but it took me a lot of years to sort of really say, no, I can do this now. Do you know what I mean?
Is it because you'd not really had that schooling in it per se?
Maybe.
In a formal, you know,
maybe
in a formal kind of avenue whereby you've just kind of, like you said, you know, improved your way through.
Yeah.
Is that why you felt like, oh, maybe no, I'm not good enough to do this when you are clearly?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe that could play an aspect into it. I didn't want the responsibility, maybe, or the, you know, I was too in my own head really to sort of give something that you know, I just didn't think it was the right time for me. Do you know what I mean? And I would have said that back then as well. And I remember working with the director, and he was like, you know, when you think about sort of, you know, going and playing a lead, or, you know, I don't want to play a lead, mate. He's like, well, why not? I was like, I just don't. Not now. I'm not interested in doing it. I might be one day, and I didn't think I ever would be. Like, I was always nah, I don't know what it was. But, like, it's hard to get them opportunities anyway.
Exactly.
You know what I mean, man?
If someone's going to give you all.
But if someone's, if it would have crossed me, I remember back then, like, there was certain sort of projects that were knocking about, and, you know, I was getting seen for, but I remember purposely sort of going, nah, I don't want to go, not doing chemistry leads because I didn't want to play the lead. I was like, nah, I don't want to do it, man. Like, I remember that vividly.
For those who don't know, what's a chemistry lead?
It's like when you sort of go and meet with the other person who's sort of, you're playing opposite, who's maybe like the pinnacle of the story. Mm-hmm. But then I've been in rooms where I know I'm not right for that part, but I'm like, why am I doing this? Because I know I'm not right, but I'm still doing it. Do you know what I'm saying?
So is your mentality on that not to just think, do you know what, I'll just give it anyway and let's just see what comes of it?
That's, yeah, to a point now. Yeah. But if it would have been at the time, yeah. I'm like, but even now I'm a bit like, if I'm really right for, but I'm like, I'm not right for, even I'm like, I don't really think this is me, but I'll have a go. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'll have a go and try and have fun. And that's all you can do. Because
I asked, because it's like, with you, you know, you're an actor at the end of the day, you're acting to be different people. So how far do you want to stretch that kind of, you know, diversity under your own wing, in terms of like, yeah, I know typically I don't play this kind of part, but you know what, I'm going to give it my hardest and let's see if I can make something of it. Do you ever?
You know what, I'll be honest with you, lad, like I'm more of a, not to sound wanky or nothing, but I'm more of a character actor anyway. Like, I always try and portray different people. Yeah. If that makes any sense. Like, the characters I've portrayed have always been
far from you.
Yeah, you know what I mean, in a way. Maybe the one I'm playing now is probably the closest I've been to someone from years ago when I was younger. I'm not saying I'm like him, but you know what I mean? Like, that's in terms of, like, you know, doing it, like, it's always been, I've always tried to, I think, you know what I mean? I like to get, like, in it. I can't do the whole surface thing of acting.
So what makes you think you're not right for certain things then? What is it about it?
Because he's fucking weird. All actors are weirdos.
Do you know what I mean?
Haven't you got onto it yet?
Yeah.
They're all weird.
But I know that's a good question, man. It is a good question, because 9 times out of 10 when something crosses me thing, I can say, I could do this, but I can't necessarily see me getting the job. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I could do this character, no problem, but I don't think they're going to go for me, because I'm not really that good looking, or I'm not, I don't know, whatever that may be, you know, in the ethos of things. But I know on paper I could always give something to someone, regardless of whatever part it is. But it's just always, I think, as obviously getting older and seeing how the business works and all that, and how people, and because it's a business at the end of the day.
Of course it is, yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a business, and if, you know, someone's, you know, be that a better actor or better looking or whatever it may be, it's whatever they're looking for to sell. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it's, I've always been a bit like, oh, I'm not like that. Like, it's never been in my head to be like business headed, like, you know what I'm saying? Because it's always been a part of the art, I suppose. But like, I get it why it goes like that.
Because you spend a lot of time winning people over.
Yeah.
in that sense, when you're put in them situations, it's really just another wall for you to climb over, isn't it?
Yeah. Basically, yeah. Yeah, it is, yeah. But, you know...
You've gone into it thinking, I know that I'm probably not right for this part. They're probably sat there thinking, he's not right for this part, but...
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah,
you know.
Do you know what I mean? Bloody hell, though.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing is people who are seeing you for a part, half the time, they've got an image in their head. Yeah. And when you walk in the door and you're not, that like, image. Within 80% of it, it's just like, I can't see it. It doesn't matter how good you are. They're just like, I just don't see it as him. I didn't see him having curly hair. He's too tall, whatever it is. Yeah. There's something arbitrary in the person who's picking the actor that you can never know what it is, and you'll always be battling against.
Of course, yeah. And that's the unknown. But, you know, also you can save a lot of people time by not doing that and being clear-cut on your decisions. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah, because that can be very, very, very... That can be hard, man. That can be hard. It happens for this. It happened for this job that me and Joyce were on. Yeah. Because it was like... I knew it was him. He should have been playing the part from day one. I was speaking to him before we even... You know what I mean? And then the two of us, I'm like, why are you getting us to do this, lad? Like, I was like, Seth for the part, you. Yeah. Good looking, you know, perfect. Yeah. You know, I'm always the bonehead. You know what I mean? But I'm cool with that, man. Like, you know what I mean? But it's one of them. You're like, he's wasting the time here. Cause, do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it is a mad thing because there's that many factors involved for you to like really, you know.
It doesn't stop you going on and thinking about it. That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah?
But it put you through a lot of stress because you're like, stop wasting my time. I'd love to get to, I suppose I'd love to get to a position where, I don't know, I don't have to bother with that anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, pick and choose.
Yeah, you can pick and choose what you want.
Yeah, and I suppose now I'm not like, I haven't got that. I'm not in a position where I can pick and choose, of course I'm not. But I sort of know which is good and which isn't. Do you know what I mean?
You can be somewhat selective.
I can be somewhat selective in what gets sent my way because sometimes, like when I first start off, I'm just like,
give me everything. Yeah.
And then as the years go on, you go, oh, it's a bit snide. Or, do you know what I mean? You sort of clock on to when something's not like, not right. Yeah. Or not right per se. It's all subjective. It's art, isn't it? But like through, you know, your interpretation or your perception of something. Yeah.
Brilliant, that. Yeah, nice one for coming down, Bobby. Fucking any time you're back.
Sorry if it seemed a bit formal. I promised that I wasn't gonna swear on this one because normally like
have you swore?
I've swore once.
Have you?
Said shite twice. No. 2 fingers.
3 times. 3 times.
I thought you swore loads. I've sworn.
No, yeah, but I haven't. No, because I promised people I wasn't gonna swear. So I promised me missus, me ma, and Billy Arden, boxing coach. So I'm not gonna. It's just
on a podcast.
On a podcast. Yeah.
But you do swear in real life.
I do, yeah. But I'm making a conscious effort.
I'm making a conscious effort. You come into our gaff and you're not being yourself. This is right. Nice one, Bobby. Cheers.
Nice one.